Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, our preview show where we look ahead to the next Arsenal game. And we've got an interesting kind of couple of league fixtures now coming up on the Arsenal horizon. Other teams are dropping points, and all of a sudden the league is looking a little bit more accessible than it did a couple of days ago. To do this show, I'm joined by one of our expert members, a fantastic one at that. It's Zamir. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
I'm well, Tom. How are you?
Yes, very good. I mean, after last Thursday, I can't really complain too much. It was. I mean, did you enjoy the absolute drubbing of those guys from the Czech Republic?
Yeah, I think more than the result, I enjoyed the performance. I mean, everything about it was everything we've wanted from this team and expected from this team in a consistent way. So it was just amazing to see what we're capable of, and now it's about putting a consistent run of those good performances together.
Yeah, 100% is, mate. I hear you 100%. We've got an interesting game, though, with Fulham. Now, we opened up our campaign this season basically with a result against Fulham, which made us feel that things might have been a lot better than they transpired to be. And Fulham are obviously in a very tricky situation themselves. They're currently sitting, of course, in the final relegation spot in 18th. They are 7 points off 17th place Burnley, who play Liverpool today. So, I mean, there's a good chance that they're going to drop points, and they'll know that they could close that gap to 4 points if they were to win against us. So there's a lot for them to play for. Their form, though, has not been the best. They've lost their last 4 games, which obviously means that they're going to beat us, Zamir. So what are your thoughts about Fulham this season?
I mean, exactly, right? If we had never lost to a side in the relegation zone until Burnley beat us. This is the season. Burnley beat us back in December. This is the season where we've lost the most home games in almost 90 years, back to 1929, 1930. So, can you really put it past Fulham to come and get a result and beat us at home this season? I don't know. But Fulham, the results have gone against them, but I feel like they've always been in games. They've put up good performances. They've beaten Liverpool. So on the odd day, anything can happen.
In the chat box, Matt Thornton, and by the way, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Chat box, good to have you in here and watching us live today. I know there's a lot of football going on right now, so I appreciate you tuning in. Matt Thornton, though, says, would love to see Balogun get a start. We'll obviously come on to our selected teams, Amir, in a second. But yeah, we talked a little bit off it before we came on about how, I mean, I personally feel that league is still exceptionally important, that there are opportunities for us opening up. We saw Everton and Spurs yesterday both drop points because they drew 2-2. Yep. I was hoping that they would draw because both of them are competitors, and them both dropping points is important for our season. We play Everton next week, so within the space of a week, we've got a chance to close 5 points on them and be just 1 point behind them. They would have a game in hand still, but I think they've still got. I think that even might be against Manchester City, which in itself is a tricky game. So, and then but 2 points behind Spurs as well. It's the league for me is still exceptionally important. Is it not for you?
Yeah, I think the league is important. I mean, most people would say between 9th, 8th, 7th, wherever we end up, it doesn't matter. To me, the league is a way to continue our Europa League form. And the point about Balogun, and we'll get onto the lineups, like I want to keep our form going. Like even if we draw or lose to Fulham, like put in that performance, put in a consistently high level of performance, play your football, increase the chemistry of the team, like the togetherness. We've got to carry that because that is the only thing that's going to give us a chance to win against Everton and potentially Villarreal, in the subsequent games. So, we still got a chance in the league. We just have to focus on ourselves, take it one game at a time, and continue to play a consistent high level of football.
Yeah, it's ultimately, I think, also the league is about momentum. It's about keeping your form going. If you're resting and rotating heavily and you start losing games, that affects the confidence, it affects the mentality, it affects morale. And if you're winning games like we've seen in the last couple of games, we've scored 7 goals and conceded none in our last 2 games. And if that continues and you build up that momentum, you then go into those Europa League games, those knockout games, with that kind of wind in your sails, that extra push behind you, that confidence that the players are on top form. So I'm not making huge amounts of changes. I've made some because I think rotation is still key, but it's about kind of making a couple of tweaks here and there when possible. Speaking of which, I mean, let's take a look at who we've selected for our team. So Zamir, I'll come to you first. You've gone for the exact same team as we played against Sheffield United. So a couple of tweaks from the game against Slavia. But talk us through why you've gone with this team.
Yeah, I think starting from the back four, they've kept 2 consecutive clean sheets. They're playing well together. They're playing composed. They've shut down every attack. And we've not no opposing team, granted it's Sheffield and Slavia Prague, but they still put out an 11 and still play. We've kept a clean sheet, so keep it consistent, keep it going. In the midfield, I've gone with Ceballos and Partey. I think Danny is starting to turn a corner on his form, and I think he has to try and keep it going. I think he's going to be an important player if Emil Smith-Rowe gets injured or Odegaard gets injured, and if Xhaka continues his hot form at left back, like Ceballos, that's your position to lose. Don't let El Neni come in and take it. And then for the 3, I've gone for Martinelli instead of Emil Smith-Rowe, simply because of the injury issue. I don't think Emil is 100% fit yet, but I think Saka and Pepe are undroppable at the moment. Pepe is a form player. We know that. Keep him in the team. Let him keep building his confidence. Let him keep scoring, assisting, making an impact. He's going to be an important player towards the end of the season, especially since we don't know what's happening with Aubameyang. Like, he has malaria, but is he going to come back? When is he going to come back? We need our goal scorers firing. And then finally, Lacazette. He's our captain. He's our leader. He's our guy who leads the line, and ultimately, to me, you just can't drop this guy right now for anyone. Not rotation. When he's if you drop him for this game, I feel like Everton, he'll come back and maybe have a performance like Slavia Prague in the first leg. Well, he'll miss some chances. He's got to keep playing. He's got to keep building on the confidence. And I think this is why I've gone with the selection.
I don't blame you, to be honest, because I think that team that played against Sheffield United did play exceptionally well. They dominated the game. They created a lot of clear-cut chances. They didn't let Sheffield United have a sniff whatsoever. And so I completely get the think about it. I've made a couple of changes from that and from Slavia. Now, of course, there is a couple of kind of questions on here. The first one you imagine seeing is Odegaard, whether we know he's fit or not. Now, Smith-Rowe is obviously a very important player for us. He is someone that we know has got injury problems, someone that we can't trust reliably across, say, 5+ games in a row, basically. Yeah. So any opportunity I feel that we have to protect him, I think we have to take that chance. And I think that swapping him out for a player like Odegaard does not hinder us in any way. It doesn't drop the quality in any way. It brings that guy back in. If he is not fit in terms of this, in terms of like the game, if Odegaard's not fit, then sure, Emil Smith-Rowe, bring him back in. You'll also notice that Saka isn't in this team. Another one similar to Smith-Rowe has had some injury issues of late, and just an opportunity here to give him a rest because we've got some really good players in the wings. Now, I kept the front 3 like you did, but I've swapped Pepe and Martinelli because I just think that we need to start bedding in Pepe as a left winger, because I just feel like that's his best position. I feel it's his best role. I think that it's where he can ultimately flourish. It's where he's more unpredictable for the opposition team to deal with. He had an amazing game against Slavia Prague on that left-hand side. And Martinelli is versatile enough that I feel he can also play on the right-hand side. We know he's got a good delivery on his right and left foot, so he can cut inside, he can run to the byline, drag the ball back, and I think he can work on the right-hand side as well as he can on the left. A lot of people would have said originally that Pepe couldn't work on the left until we tried it. So there's no point in saying that we can't try Martinelli on the right-hand side as well. I'm keeping Xhaka at left-back, and I think that needs to be kind of the move going forwards. Whilst he's going to play there while Tierney is out, he needs to get more assured in this position against gradually tougher opposition too, so he can test himself there, acclimatise to that role, and just keep it. We know he's fit enough to play as many games as we need him to. He's not got those issues. Only illness has stopped him from playing so far, so that stays there. Gabriel, I've swapped in again for a rotation for for Marie, although I would have absolutely no problem if Marie did start this game. Holding is kind of our only real choice, bar Chambers playing at right centre-back at the moment with David Luiz out. And then I've thrown Cedric into the mix as well to give him a few minutes and give Chambers, who has come back off a huge injury this season, another one of a rest. But completely, Zamir, I understood your selection entirely in regards to keeping the back four the same, in regards to all of that. So I think you made some excellent points there, as we're going to go on to kind of predictions in a bit. But what are you kind of expecting, and what are you worried about most of all from the team we're coming up against? You've got the likes of course, Mitrovic up top has caused a lot of problems. Maja, who came in January, that scored a couple on his debut, I think, against Everton, and has done really well there. They've got a decent few players in midfield, like Anguissa, players that Arsenal fans have actually kind of wanted us to move for as well. So what is it about Fulham that you're concerned about for tomorrow's game?
It's not Fulham that worries me. It's us. I am not worried. Fulham can put out their best 11. They still do not worry me. It's us that worries me. I think Fulham will come out aggressive. I think they'll try to get physical, especially in the middle of the park with the players that you mentioned. I think they'll try and nick a goal or two, and to me, it's which Arsenal shows up, Jekyll and Hyde. And that's why I've gone with, again, the consistent lineup, because I want us to start mentally thinking that with this lineup or with these group of players that we are confident enough to beat anyone off the park on any given single day. So, again, fair play to Fulham. They're a decent team. I think they're going to go down. I think they're going to be physical. I think they're going to have high energy. But at the end of the day, it comes down to us, Tom. It really comes down to which Arsenal shows up. Are we going to implement Mikel Arteta's game plan, or are we going to come post-match and say we didn't respect the manager? That's why things have happened.
As Hector Bellerin said, we don't lose against the opposition. We lose against ourselves because we make consistent mistakes, and that is something that gradually needs to be changed. Gradually needs to hopefully be, I don't know, not necessarily change, but just these mistakes need to be ironed out. We need to obviously bring better quality players in this summer as well to really add to the squad. So we've reached the stage of the show where, of course, we go to predictions. So chat box, let us know what you think is going to be the score for you in tomorrow's game against Fulham at home at the Emirates, which, there's not really any home advantage these days, but I suppose the boys you're going to want to kind of build up that confidence at home when we go into that semi-final against Villarreal. Zamir, what is going to be your prediction? Scorers, how do you think the game's going to play out? Go for it, mate.
Yeah, I think we'll win 4-1. I think Fulham will get one, probably off one of our mistakes. I think they'll sniff one out because they're so desperate. But I think on the whole, my goal scorers, Lacazette, Pepe, I think Martinelli would get one. And then I think either Holding or Marie. I'm going to give our center backs a set piece goal. But I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a tight game. But I think later, as the game goes on, we'll pull away and we'll start finishing our dinner and win this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much inclined to agree with you. I feel like it's going to be a fairly, not simple game, but one in which we can score a fair few goals. I think it's one where you're going to see the midfield be quite high pressed and winning the ball as high up the pitch as feasibly possible, like against Slavia, and taking those chances. I'm looking for, personally, a 3-0 win. I'm going to keep the clean sheets going. I'd like to see, obviously, if Gabriel does start, there's more of a question about that because of his partnership with Holding, which is well pointed out in the chat, I believe, by Mark. Was it Mark Denny in the chat that was pointing out earlier on? It was indeed. He's a fair point to bring up the fact that Gabriel and Holding don't necessarily play too well together. Purely rotation from my part and why I've selected that, but that could lead obviously to a little bit of vulnerability. So I'm going to go with 3-0, and I'm changing the Cedric screamer, lads. I'm changing that. It's no longer, because I want Thomas Partey to pop up with a screamer, because he's tried so many times to hit the target. To even hit the ground at this stage is an achievement for him, because they're going over and out of the stadium at this stage. So a Thomas Partey screamer would be brilliant. And just to see him obviously pop up with another performance that just kind of puts a few people in the mud who have been criticising my man. I'm not accepting it. So yeah, a 3-0 win with a Partey screamer and Pepe and Lacazette to again continue their fine goal scoring form. Plus Pepe is my fantasy captain this week. So I'm hoping that he's going to put. To be honest, my captains never do well. So if anything, I've jinxed him. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, at
Omar,
least
Sorry, go on, Zamir.
I was gonna say, at least you're not like some folks in the Discord who captain
You
some
Spurs
Spurs.
players,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. And I bet. I mean, can you imagine last night watching Spurs? They're
yeah.
celebrating Kane scoring because he's their captain. Sad, sadness,
Stat.
just pure sadness. No remorse. No, it's just traitors.
Yeah,
Daniel Robert, we see you. We see you, Dan Robert. We see you. Omar says 3-0 win. Light work for the Arsenal. On to the next game. Karthik says 2-0. Lacquer brace again. Matt Thornton says 3-0. Pepe to get the first. Mark Denny says, I keep hearing people saying they don't care about the league anymore. But even if we can't get European places from league positions, are we forgetting that we have a chance to finish above Tottenham? And we discussed that a little bit earlier on in the show, Mark. So make sure you scroll back and listen to what we had to say on that. Steve Stone says 3-1, Lacazette, Saka and Gabriel to get the goals. Isaac Brooks agrees with that 3-1 scoreline. Alex Gar Sedi, I really hope I pronounced that right. I don't think I have. He says 2-0 Arsenal. Mr. Joker says 3-0 minimum. We need really turn on the flare. And running over Scott Parker is always a plus. Pepe, Lacquer, and Odegaard to get the goals. Mark Denny says 5-1 Arsenal. That would be lovely if that actually turned out to be true. That would be brilliant. I think Fulham will go for it, says Budicon, which I could understand. They're in a battling fight for relegation. They're obviously going to be wanting to get as many goals and points as feasibly possible and scrapping to the best of their ability, as we've seen Newcastle do today against West Ham. Alan says 3-1 Arsenal. Lacazette, Emil Smith Rowe and Martinelli to get the goals. And Tom says, by the way, triple captain Kane did pay off. And Tom, you could do one, mate. you could do one, son. You're a traitor, and I have no respect for anyone putting Spurs players in their fantasy teams. Massive thank you to Mark Denny, who's recently joined up as a member. I hope you enjoy your new exclusive content. And if you are, in fact, an expert member, you can join our Discord server as well and get access to coming on the show, just like Zamir is today. Tom says 2-0 Arsenal, though. Odegaard goal, which is going to be wrong because he's a traitor. So there's a nice way to segue and finish off the show. Thank you to my brilliant expert members, Amir. Really appreciate your time today, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Tom. Always good to chat, and hopefully we go and win on Sunday.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. You can find Zamir on Twitter at NYCGooner34. You can find myself at the Gooner Talk TV or my personal account at Tom Canton Media. We'll be back tomorrow straight after the game. And then in the evening, I'm going to get, hopefully, either today or tomorrow. I haven't decided when it's going to come out, but there's going to be a tactical breakdown coming out on another transfer target that Arsenal have been linked to recently. So make sure you subscribe to get all the information, the expert insight, the statistical analysis, the graphics, all of that across all of our transfer targets this summer. We're going to be breaking them all down. So make sure you subscribe to get that content. We'll see you again very, very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.